following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View. The People's View is a show sponsored by the Nashua Republican City Committee. The committee meets every second Thursday at the Crown Plaza. And if you want to contact us, we have a website, nashuagop.org. And at the end of the show, you'll see some contact phone numbers or email addresses that you may want to send us your comments and recommendations. Thank you for listening in.
Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
Hello and welcome. Today we have a guest who is trying for the Senate position in Nashua, Doris Hohensee. Doris, you're somewhat of a newcomer, I guess, to the running for a political office. What made you run for Senate as your first try instead of, like many people do it, by running for the House first?
I did run for the House last time.
That's right.
In Ward 3. I had 6 kids, and I've been active with the legislature for 24 years on education issues and raising my kids, sort of juggling the whole business. But my last daughter went off to college, so I have more time. And the changes and the reforms that are in schools now are more upsetting, and they're removing local control, they're taking it away from teachers. The whole process is not open and transparent. So I decided that it's time to, get in with 2 feet. So this seat wasn't contested. I wasn't going to let, the opposition just walk in. I figured we'll give it a try. It's probably out of, my comfort zone of what I'm trying to do. But the biggest thing is whether I win or not, we need to fix the economy. We need to make this a state where businesses come, small business, big ones, because otherwise our kids graduate and they leave the state. They can't find a job here. So all your grandchildren are being born in other states. It's lovely, but you don't get to see them as much. And it doesn't help our state. And our schools, we have this new Common Core business that we have, it's more and more teach to the test. And these tests never had a public hearing. We're not allowed to see them. And they're going to use to evaluate our teachers and decide whether they're effective or ineffective. And we're going to be, faced with losing our good teachers based on a test that we're not allowed to see. I mean, it's got to be reversed. Things have to open up. If we like what we see, then we accept it. But the whole process has been backwards, and I want to go up there to straighten out those education issues, whether I win this particular race or whether I just continue to go up there as a layperson that's discussing and pointing out discrepancies and saying, well, you need to look at this and you need to examine that. It's something that just needs to be done.
Everything's in the details, isn't it?
It's always in the detail.
And I think that's what we need, a few more people up there. I agree. When I ran up there, too, I saw a lot of people who, they wrote poor legislation. They just didn't care for the consequences as much, the potential consequences.
Well, we had one division that they created out of thin air, and I pointed it out, and they said, oh, no, we have that authority. But then a week or 2 later, the whole website changed, and they reversed it to the way statute told them, and I reminded them that you need to follow the statute. So there's a few things that you need to keep them on track and on task, and that's good. And I'm glad that New Hampshire is such a nice, small state that they are responsive, even though they don't take credit or they don't acknowledge that it might have been a mistake. But that's all right. We're moving forward. So the next thing we have to do is, why are we getting all these programs that we are not allowed to review and inspect? And we need to have a little bit more access, a little bit more transparency before we just put these things into our districts. And they're going to have, it's going to be for punishing our teachers without even knowing what's in them. And this This
No,
is
that we had a session once before on Common Core. That's a topic by itself that could take up hours.
It is. It is.
And I'm glad that you're keeping the feet to the fire on that subject. But you talked about that and the economy. I mean, what would you think they has to do about the economy? What does the state do?
Well, we've got a lot of extra regulation on business. We've got a lot of taxes, fees, licenses. We need to reevaluate them and make New Hampshire a destination. Right now, it's not. There's other states that people go to when they want to start up a business because it's more business friendly. We're on the bottom of the list. When I came up here in 1979, New Hampshire was opening up. New Hampshire had a mini tech boom, and we came as part of it. And we had a family, and now it's sort of like disappearing under our feet. So it can be fixed. It's not impossible. It's just, we just have to have the will to do it and say, okay, recognize we have a problem. Okay, let's take a few steps. Let's discuss a few proposals, and then do something. And my opponent wants to give tax credits and things like that and special grants, but that doesn't make a level playing field, and that's only temporary.
You play favorites then.
We need something that goes across the board that helps everybody. This has got to be something so that our economy starts picking up.
Yeah, one of the things they started 2 years ago, and they still haven't finished yet, is to make it a one-stop place where any new business or any new, if you're building a building or something, and go through all the regulations that pertain to doing that in this state at one place. You don't have to jump to different agencies. But I don't think that's ever gotten off the board with this last governor.
Well, I know when you incorporate a business, you have to go to the Secretary of State's office, the corporate division, and then there's all kinds of local ordinances and things you have to do. So I don't know how they can streamline that. But anybody that does, that that works to be more business friendly.
If they continued working like they were back then in 2012, they would have had it done by now, I would think.
They also have to look at the fees and the actual tax rates and start to say, if we're encouraging business, what are our neighbors doing? Why aren't we competitive? What can we do to fix that? And it's not a difficult process. You just have to have the will to do that.
Well, you're going to have a little bit of a problem there with only once in the last, 70 years has there been a Republican elected in your district?
90 years, but
90 years.
My opponent's been busy raising gas taxes. Yeah. She raised that Medicare expansion tax.
Right.
I mean, unless we get endless federal funds, that's going to be a tax beyond belief. She wants a gag order on free speech around certain buildings. I don't care whether it's Planned Parenthood or it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a gag order. In Massachusetts, courts just throw that out. She's got a lot of cigarette taxes that she wanted. She wants the greenhouse gas initiative, which is our electric costs are going to be sky high anyway.
They are now.
And this isn't going to help. I mean, she raised the compulsory school age to 18. In Manchester, you can't call them a dropout. Well, they've made it so there is no age to drop out at 16, but even if you leave, you're not allowed, you're incomplete. I mean, I don't know, we're not working with our children.
Yeah.
We should make our schools so exciting that they don't want to leave.
That's right.
Instead of just locking them up farther. I mean, let's examine the problems. If you make learning interesting and exciting, they wouldn't have this need to leave. Or if they needed to get a job, I mean, you could work with them, but I don't believe that you force people to do things against their will.
Well, the charter schools seem to be doing a good job in that area.
They are doing a great job, but it's only a limited number that get those choices. What about everybody else's children? That's my concern. We need not a level playing field, but we need the flexibility so every school has the flexibility to be great, not one size fits all. That's what we're getting. One size fits all. I mean, it's going to be more and more people leaving. They're going to leave for homeschooling, private schools, charters, anything, because one size doesn't fit all. And if you want your teachers as role models for innovation and they can't even innovate in the classroom, it's backwards. It's just, I mean, you don't need to know anything about education to know that we're facing a problem.
Yeah.
We have a theory that they come up with a theory and they're selling it as a product, which is very expensive. And then they're marketing it as a great standard. It's like, oh, these are our best practices. It's all hype. It's just the latest, greatest product out of the federal government, and it's going to be a flop like No Child Left Behind. And they said that they learned from that because there was too much testing. This one is twice as much testing. So we didn't learn anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, even the process of implementing it, they sort of wipe out whatever had occurred before, and this goes over the whole group of classes from kindergarten to seniors in high school all at once. So, and then, how did the test the ones that are in the high school?
Well, that is a problem because if you come up through the new system, you might be tested appropriately. But if you're just thrown in it, like, how are you supposed to be able to come up to speed that fast?
That's right.
And they're taking out a lot of literature, which the stories, the storytelling, the things that make it fun and exciting to learn. And
giving you a historic perspective, too, on this country.
They're twisting. They're biasing. It's, you know, I understand that everything is a little bit biased. He who writes the history, it's biased. But we don't need one size fits all. It should be locally determined and locally biased to the community's liking, not some non-transparent entity that we can't change.
So the Department of Education up there is sort of putting this, pushing this through, and the town boards of education are following.
Not all of them. I was in Brookline last night. There's a little resistance here and there. They're going to go for paper testing, and it's a great idea because there's a 12-week window because nobody has the technology. Even Nashua spent $1 million on this new technology, which they're going to have to put in, you know, the classes over a 12-week period to share this technology to take the test. Well, Brookline said, forget that. We want a paper and pencil test, which it's available, and we're going to take it in one day, so there's no security of leaking from one student to another what's on the test, and we have 11 more weeks to prepare them. So in and out, we're done. So that's great.
That's good.
And then the other thing is the department's saying that everybody has to take this. No, the districts are mandated to administer the tests, but parents still have those rights that parents have. And that's to say, I think this is good or I think this is bad, and my child's not participating. Because, I mean, after all, these tests aren't even validated. We're supposed to have valid statewide assessments. Where's the validation? Where's the seal of approval? Where was the hearing when they came in? Again, there's no transparency. And this has got to be reversed. So if I don't get in, I want my opponent, if she's so good, to take up this cause, to fix our schools, to look at these issues, because they're important. So.
Well, you have a campaign, a tough campaign coming up, but at least it's in Nashua. And you got a lot of door knocking to do and everything.
I've been out there, and people are nice, and they're overwhelmed with what they're dealing with and juggling, but they're friendly and they're receptive.
Well, I thank you for the handout you have now, and it's a very appropriate. You're talking about jobs, you're talking about balanced budget, you talk about no new taxes and fees, better education for our children, and openness and fairness in government. Now, and local control and decision making. And that seems to be a pretty good thing to stand on. How are you getting feedback from your voters?
Well, I think so, because I believe in the people. I believe the people should control their government. So when I say local control, I mean we the people at the bottom.
Right.
Not those that are up at the top that we can't even see or find, or it'll take 20 years to figure out how to change a procedure or a law. So put it back to where it started. Get the people involved. And I know they say everybody's apathetic, but if there was a mechanism, if we restored that mechanism and said, you can do this, just tell us what you want, we'll work with you, people would love that. I mean, they need to have confidence in their government.
That's right, yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping that we can do.
Good. And I assume you're looking for people to help you, people to contribute to help your expenses, because it's not cheap to run a campaign.
Well, we're trying to do it on a shoestring. I'm doing my best. When you have 6 kids, you know how to economize, and we are going to be the cheapest Senate candidate in the state if I have my way. Either that, or we're going to be, you know, really fancy. But
well, how do people contact you? Say, I want to help you.
I have a website, dorishohensee.com. You can donate there. You can volunteer there. And I have an email address. It's doris.hohensee@comcast.net.
Okay, and these are on the tape that the people see.
Right. And you'll have signs around town. I've already started putting them out, and it'll have the website on the signs.
Good.
So if they need to reach me.
Well, the only good thing I guess we have here is right now is that you don't have anybody competing on the primary.
I don't, and the people are kind of like, this is August almost, or July, and it's like, why are you? Well, we're in that campaign season again. You got to get them in the mode.
Well, it's a large area. You can't do it all in 2 months, and
Right.
That's for sure.
But it's nice meeting the people and seeing the different neighborhoods.
Well, I hope they are supporting you, and I hope you get some more, donations coming in to
That would
help
be
you.
great, yeah.
Because it is expensive to print literature, get things out, let people know where you stand. And hopefully this program will help them, and you can put this on your website so that people understand where you're coming from, and they get to see you and know you as a person a little bit.
If they don't get me at the front door, they can get me online.
That's right. That's right. So we'll do this again in the final days of October.
Thank you. That'd be wonderful.
But, thank you very much for the time, and good luck in getting all those doors knocked on.
Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I'd like to add about the stakeout that the Nashua Republican Committee is sponsoring September 13th at the Town Plaza. Go to NashuaGOP.org and get the details on that event. And there'll be a lot of the candidates for different offices in the state. Thank you very much for listening in.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.